Eric Woodyard, go ahead.
What's up, Coach? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously, man, you guys had to rule out 4 guys because of the health and safety protocols. Two-part question. Any update on those guys? And also, how does it just remind you what you guys are playing through? I mean, it's still a pandemic. Obviously, you guys are doing your job, but just does it continue to put this into reality that you guys still have situations like this?
Yeah, I think with the way everybody has to live, not just us, but everybody. Certainly, I think traveling on the road is entirely different than it's been in the past. To the fact that we played 2 games in Washington, it doesn't really happen. How limited you are and what you can and can't do, where you can go in the hotel, where you can leave, where you can go eat, all those things. So, I mean, the world's changed in a lot of ways, not only in the NBA, but I think worldwide. So, we're certainly reminded of it on a daily basis of what we're having to deal with.
Did you have any update on the guys at all, or just from what you guys provided before?
No, I mean, right now, just in full disclosure of what's happening, Chandler was the one that had tested positive. And obviously what I'm telling you is stuff that I was allowed to say through permission. But he is still in DC, and he is going through all the NBA safety and protocols. The other 3 guys are back in Chicago right now, not on this trip. So outside of that, there's really nothing more I can say. I know I got a lot of questions last night, and those questions I think were very valid, but there was so much up in the air because we found out relatively close to tip-off that those guys weren't playing. And then I think a lot of questions were asked of the whereabouts, where are they doing, where are they going, where are they staying. So that's where it's at right now. But outside of that, I can't really say anything more than that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Joe Cowley.
Billy, how you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Joe.
When you took this job, obviously you knew the circumstance of what was going on in the world. Has this been, are you having fun, or does this feel like a bigger kind of pain in the ass than you anticipated it would be when you signed on for this, with all the loopholes you got to go through and all the protocols? And is this even fun? Does it even feel like coaching, or is it kind of like being a medical guy almost?
No, I really have enjoyed it. It's been a great group of guys. The organization has been great. We still get a chance to do basketball. There's just a lot of inconveniences, to be quite honest with you. And it's just kind of the way of the world. It's a totally different environment. I really didn't know what to expect, when I took the job, but I really didn't know what to expect even going into Orlando to the bubble. So I don't know. I think there was probably a lot of people that were in the bubble felt like they didn't want to have another bubble situation again. And I'm talking about more from a player's perspective because of maybe how restricted it was. So I think going into this season, nobody really knew what it was going to be like or how it would be like. I am enjoying it. The year is challenging in a lot of different areas, as you've mentioned. I said this before, you wake up in the morning and you don't know maybe who's going to be available, not available. And it's not like somebody gets hurt in a game and you have maybe an idea, a guy may be questionable, he may or may not play. You have someone, you could have, as we did yesterday, 4 guys you're preparing to totally put in a game and potentially play, and none of them are available. Having to get up. The hard part, I think, for the guys, to be honest with you, Joe, is it's the, you want to have like on a back-to-back today. Like today was a day that I've never have ever done before, when we get up in the morning on a back-to-back and have a breakfast meeting at 11 o'clock, that is, there's no longer of walking downstairs to a hotel room or a ballroom, walking in the room, going through film, and then walking through plays or walking through some things offensively. These guys have got to get tested first, and we've got to wait for all the tests to come back before we can even gather as a team. So that's a 2-hour process in itself. So now you're talking about guys having to get up at 8 or 8:30 in the morning, and then they're waiting around a couple hours to wait to see everybody's cleared. And then you're going to go down to the ballroom and go through all that. So like today, what we did is we met a half hour before the buses left to head over to the arena and did a walkthrough in the ballroom. I've never really done that before, but we're going to have to try to find ways to be creative and balance their health, their rest. That's the hard part is like when you get together as a team, it's not like, okay, we're meeting at 10 o'clock. It's 5 to 10. I'm going to go downstairs. no, you got to go and get tested, and then you got to sit around and wait for your results to get back, and then you can meet. So those are the things that are more inconveniences and are daily challenges. But the basketball piece of it, we're still doing. We're just having to work around a lot of these parameters to try to keep everybody safe.
And the other part of that, and I don't know if you'll be able to answer this or not, was there anyone else in the traveling party besides players that either had to stay behind or are not or no longer on the trip, or everyone else checked out fine?
I'm not sure I understood the question, Joe. You're talking about the 4 players from last night?
Yeah. Is there anybody else, coaches or anybody else with the traveling party, that is also in the protocol or not in Milwaukee tonight?
Yeah. No, everybody that is in Milwaukee has been cleared to be here. And the guys that are not here are under the whole safety, health and guidelines and protocols with the league.
But it's just the players, no coaches, correct?
Well, between you and I never got asked this, but I forget what game it was. It may have been the Indiana game. We had 4 coaches out for the Indiana game. And that was more safety protocols. And then they were back, for the next game. So these are the things that are happening on a regular basis. But as it relates to our coaching staff here in Milwaukee, everybody on our staff is here.
Thank you.
Yep.
Casey, you're up.
Happy New Year, Billy.
Happy New Year.
I'm curious what your assessment overall is of Daniel Gafford to this point. I'm not even talking really so much about last night's game, just like his practice habits, what his ceiling is, what you're asking him to do when he's out there, that kind of stuff.
No, he's been great. Total team guy, keeps himself ready, willing to help and contribute any way he can. I do think there's a widening out or broadening out of his game. At this point in time, he's really been pretty much strictly a roller to the rim, a rim protector. Pick and roll coverage he's been very good at because of his athleticism and his intelligence. But I think trying to put him up top, let him get into some dribble handoffs, let him do some different things passing wise. I think those are things he's going to need to improve upon and get better at. I think there's a balance for me as a coach of making sure we're trying to play to his strengths. And right now his strengths are rolling and diving to the rim offensively. But I do think he needs to build out some other aspects. And we've been, doing some of that. And he's been great, in terms of trying to find ways to, learn and deal with that a little bit better, because he's never really been in a position or a situation to do much of that throughout his career, because he's been so elite as a roller and as athletic as he is at the basket, and you can throw lobs. And even the shot yesterday, he took a shot yesterday, he missed it, and he just bounced right back up the floor and dunked the ball back in. So just his attitude's been great. I think if he keeps this kind of attitude, he's only going to get better, because he works hard. He's a great guy, and he's a really good teammate.
Thanks, Darnell. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. Billy, I've got 2 questions for you. The first is, how much is the upcoming strength of schedule a topic of conversation for you and your team?
No, we're not really talking about that. Everything is, focused on the day in front. Obviously, from a preparation standpoint, you're in a back-to-back, we probably are looking at some guys' minutes. We had some guys that, absorbed quite a few minutes because we had players down. How we were going to rotate and try to keep fresh bodies in there will be important. But, we're not really talking at all to the team about, hey, play Milwaukee, then we got Dallas, then we're out on the West Coast. To me, it's just you got to go one game at a time. And now, obviously, from a medical standpoint, as they look out, a week or 2 in advance, and we sit down and talk about practice plans and, days we can practice, days we should go a little bit lighter, or having those discussions. But everything for us with the team is being thrown into each day. Can we get better? Can we improve? Can we make some really positive strides?
And my second question is about offense versus defense. Is the offense right now ahead of the defense? And if so, or vice versa, and if so, is that to be expected?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, Donnell, right now for me is I think there's been inconsistencies on both sides. Like we did a really good job in the first game against Washington defensively, and in particular not fouling, and we fouled way, way too much. So we got to be more consistent in that area defensively. the first half, we did a really, really good job in one of the games taking care of the basketball. And then in the second half, we had 11 turnovers. So it's hard for me to say which is ahead of the other. I just think that both sides of the ball were not consistent enough. And I wouldn't expect us to be. I'm looking at it from where we started and are we getting better and improving. And I can see some improvement in growth, in the groups, in the group and both, as a 5-man on the court collectively playing together, and also individually I've seen growth. So I feel like we're getting better, but it's hard for me to say what's ahead of the other one because I think we've been really inconsistent on both sides of the ball.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Rob Schaefer, you're up.
Hey, Billy. I wanted to ask you about Josh Longstaff. You told us actually in the offseason that you had tried to hire him a couple years ago, unsuccessfully. And obviously now he's on your staff. Just wondering, early in the season, what has he brought to the team so far?
Yeah, Josh has been great. I've known Josh for quite a bit of time. I think we have a lot of mutual acquaintances and friends. We had a position open when I was in Oklahoma City. I think he was just finishing up maybe his first year with the G League team as the head coach, and then Milwaukee decided to move him up to behind their bench, and I think he wanted to stay put where he was at. Obviously, coming to Chicago and something opened up in front of the bench. I called him up and he had interest and we talked, but he's a very, very good basketball guy. He's got great enthusiasm. He's really good relationship wise with the players. He's very, very sound in terms of schematics and schemes and strategies and things like that. I think he's an outside the box thinker. Like I said, I've known him for quite some time. I know in Oklahoma City, people spoke very positively about him when he was working in the video room. So, he's taken kind of the hard road, so to speak, working his way up through the ranks and loves the game, works very hard, incredibly bright, and a great guy.
All right. Looks like last but not least, we'll go with Sam Smith.
Thanks, Kristen. You played 5 games so far, and the road team has won every game. Would you say that home court, because of the circumstances of this season, no fans, the ensuing energy that's produced, whatever happens with officials, that home court is essentially, if not irrelevant, very minor factor? We saw in the bubble as well that a team without home court, in the East at least, got to those.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think the one advantage with the home court is just familiarity. A lot of times you don't get a chance to get into the arena the day before to practice or shoot. Sometimes you may not have a shoot around, but yeah, I totally agree. You're not playing against any raucous crowds. You're not dealing with a lot of noise at all. I think the home court advantage of what it is during a normal regular season is not there. But I do think the familiarity piece is there, which I do think there is an advantage there. But certainly you're not, going on the road, quote unquote, of what a true road game would be like because of the circumstances.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. That's it for pregame. Thank you, Coach.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.